should your business be an LLC or an S Corp? I get this question a lot. And so today I just wanted to spend a couple of minutes and get to the heart of the problem here. Real quick before I go, as you guys know, I'm a lawyer, but this is not legal advice. This is just information. I'm not your lawyer unless we have a signed contract that I am, or you sign up for a consultation call. That being said, let's get into this. So a lot of people ask me this question, or we'll talk and I'm like, well, have you become, are you an LLC? And they're like, no, I'm an S Corp. And I'm like, wait a minute, let's make sure that we all understand what we're talking about here. Because an LLC and an S Corp are completely different beasts. An LLC is a business entity, an S Corp is a tax status. Here's what I mean. When you become a business, you can choose to form a variety of different types of businesses. You can be a sole owner and do nothing and be a sole proprietor. You can form an LLC that has either one owner or multiple owners. You can form a partnership. You can form a corporation. You can form a nonprofit. There are a lot of business entities out there. And depending on what business entity is formed, when tax season comes around, you're defaulted into a certain tax status. So if you're a sole proprietor, you're taxed automatically as a sole proprietor. If you're a corporation, you're automatically taxed as a C Corp. If you form a partnership, you're automatically taxed as a partnership. If you form a LLC, there is no specific LLC tax status. And so what the tax side of things does is if you're a single member LLC, you're automatically defaulted to be taxed as a sole proprietor. If there are multiple owners in your LLC, then you're taxed as a partnership. So how does an S Corp fit into all of this? Well, no matter what business you form, you're defaulted into a certain tax status, but you can file certain paperwork and elect to be taxed as an S Corp. I say that because no matter what business you form, you are never, as a default, taxed as an S Corp. And so usually it's a corporation that is taxed as a C Corp that eventually decides whether or not they want to be taxed as an S Corp. But you as an LLC can be taxed as an S Corp. Let's see. I'm sorry. One of these days I'm going to figure out how to pronounce your name right, and we're going to figure this out. But she says, I went with LLC on the recommendation of my accountant. So yeah, whether or not you decide to be an LLC and taxed either as a sole proprietor or a partnership, or elect to be taxed as an S Corp, is something that you really want to have a conversation with your accountant or CPA about. And this is really something that I've talked with a lot of accountants about, because I'm a lawyer. I'm not a CPA. I'm not a tax professional. We are not a tax law firm. Oh, I'm good. I'm glad I said your name right. So here's the deal. I talked with a lot of accountants about this, because now that you understand that there's a difference between these two things, and that one is a business entity and one's a tax status, the next question is, if and when should your business elect to that S Corp status? And at the end of the day, I'm just going to read you guys something from a good friend of mine, Cathy, over at Brightwater Accounting. And this is consistent with what I've heard from a lot of accountants. She says, as for an answer on when to elect S Corp status, can I just say, talk with your CPA, smiley face, because we have to see if it makes sense based on where you're located, the net income of your business, if there's one or multiple owners, and you have other W-2 self-employed. And if you have other W-2 or self-employment income. And of course, there are some additional hoops to jump through when it comes to reasonable compensation and running payroll. So will you be able to handle that additional administrative burden, or are you willing to pay someone to do that for you? Plus, an S Corp tax returns are more complicated than a Schedule C. This is complicated because the reason why I'm saying all of this is that a lot of people hear that an S Corp allows you to save on your taxes. And that can be true, but like Cathy said in that what I just read from her, you want to make sure that you're talking with a CPA about it, because depending on whether that's a right choice for you, depending on whether those burdens are worth the tax savings, depending on whether those tax savings actually are going to happen, is something that you want to talk to your CPA about. But as an attorney, I can tell you that the decision isn't whether or not to become an LLC or an S Corp, but you should usually, I recommend that businesses at some point become an LLC or corporation just to get that personal liability protection. But whether or not you want to form that S Corp is something that you should talk to a tax specialist about. But at least understand that it's not an alternative to forming an LLC. So if you're thinking about forming an LLC and you hear about an S Corp, just understand that you can be both, and you can form the LLC and make that decision about whether to elect S Corp status later in the future. Thank you, guys. If you have any other questions about this, let me know in the comments. We're working on something new to talk about next week. It might be about moving, along the lines of this LLC topic. I've been getting this question quite a bit lately of everybody knows that when you form an LLC, you kind of want to put that LLC in your contract and stuff. But what about like if you're forming a logo or your business cards or letterhead? Once you form that LLC, where does that little LLC or Inc. if you're a corporation, where do those special letters that designate that you're a business entity, where do those need to be? And can, for aesthetic purposes or otherwise, those be removed on certain parts of what your business does without violating any rules? I have a feeling that we'll jump into that topic next week. If you guys have any questions about that, or if that sounds like something I should do, let me know in the comments. See you guys soon.